my channel. It's Rachel. I taped this once and then I kind of decided to chunk it and start all over again. So today is Vlogmas Day 22. That means we are 3 days away from Christmas, which is crazy. And we're going to celebrate Christmas a little early because I have to actually work on Christmas. But today I'm going to be doing a quick little summary, rundown, review, whatever you call it, of the Wanderess Wonder Beauty Rush palette that I did receive in my Ipsy. I think it was my Glam Bag Plus, but it could have been my Ipsy Ultimate. Don't quote me on it. I don't remember. It's one of them. So anywho, it will not have a try on because I am already wearing it. And so I just wanted to kind of keep this simple, do some swatches, talk about it a little bit. And you can't talk about this palette without kind of talking about the other palettes from this line. So I am going to do a quick little like rundown about the differences on this palette from the other one. So anywho, this is for all of those new to my channel. My name is Rachel. I do lifestyle, boxing, and beauty, reviews of stuff. So if you are new to my channel, welcome, and please subscribe, hit the notification bell. There will be a giveaway coming up at Christmas, so stay tuned on it. And I've got some fun videos planned coming up. All right, so let's dive into this. So this palette is $25, I believe. I think you can get it on the Sephora website. I was looking through, the reviews were pretty good on this, which is not always the case. Not every single Wonder Beauty palette has been great. And I have a couple reviews from previous palettes that I have done. I have done a review of these two. These were the very first ones. This is the Chill and Off Duty. I will post that up above. I actually liked these pretty good. And then I did a review of the Fling palette, which I was super excited about and I disliked intensely. So I'll put that up there. And then I didn't do a review because this was very similar to the Fling palette and I was very disappointed, but I got this in, I believe it was an Ipsy as well. But I did do a try on, so I'll try to remember to find the video and post that up above there. So this is the Rush palette, and they've changed it up a bit again. So the outside is your typical Wonder Beauty packaging. They now have this on top, which I was noticing the old ones did not have that. I mean, that's just kind of an unimportant detail, but that now has it, which I appreciate because when I stack these up in my makeup drawer, now you can see the little name there, which is nice. It is a little bit more muted packaging, kind of reminiscent or reminds me a little closer to the original palette style, which is kind of nice because these two were a little bit more, I don't know, they were just a little brighter. So this feels a little bit more muted. These are without mineral oil, parabens, phthalates, synthetic fragrance. This is cruelty-free, gluten-free, and vegan. And so the whole idea with Wonder Beauty products, or at least what I understand to be the whole idea, is that they're supposed to be very easy to use and very travel friendly so that you can just kind of pick up and go with these products. So their palettes are purposely very small. They always come with like a mirror, and you're supposed to be able to make complete looks with these just based on this. So this is what the palette looks like. Rundown, they have two essentially matte shades. They kind of have a satin sheen to them, but really when you swatch them out, and I'll show you guys, they are mattes. They have two foiled shades that are a little bit more like regular metallic, and then they have these two like high shine shimmer with glitter pieces in them in here in the middle. Okay, that's a little bit of a change from their their original formulations, which only had one matte, and then oftentimes they would have the rest in kind of a satin or a shimmer. And I'll show you, these are the two originals. As you can see, one matte and the rest were kind of shimmers. And then they switched it up with the last two palettes before, where they did one matte, one satin, and then a bunch of high shine ones. And that was the same here for the Fling palette. They did one matte, one satin, and then, you know, 4 high shimmer. I think they kind of took some of the feedback and they got it a little bit better with this one by having a little bit more 2 matte-like ones, and then too kind of semi-shimmery and then like too high. Because I think when you had the palettes before that had all the shimmers in it, it was just a little bit too much. So let's swatch them. I'm going to swatch them from the least shiny to the most shiny, just because that makes the most sense to me. Don't mind, I have like, I earlier swatched it out and wiped it off. So we're going to put it on this arm here. And this is, I was playing with a different palette there. So anywho, let's start with this one. This is OTW. This is the most surprising shade to me in the palette. It is the transition shade matte, and I'll show you here. It swatches really nicely, and it goes on the eye just as nicely as it swatches. What surprises me is in the pan, it looks like it is just a really boring kind of purpley brown, or really just a brown. But on the eye, it has this really pretty, almost dusty rose kind of color. It's a really beautiful transition shade, and it goes on and it blends beautifully. The next one here is Swift, which is this dark brown, as you can see here. And let me show you here. This swatches beautifully. It goes on really nicely as well. It is a very pigmented shade, and I was expecting it to be a little less pigmented because in the past their mattes have not been the most pigmented, but this was extremely pigmented and blended really nicely and went on really, really well. So the two mattes are very nice, and I really appreciate that they put a light matte and a transition shade, a dark matte and a transition shade matte that go together well, because I think in the past they've been missing that. Now we're going to go and do Change and Hustle. So Change is this light color, and don't mind, I have a little bit of that staining from the previous color on my finger, but this is like the perfect inner corner color. It's just a pretty kind of light shimmery. The formula is really buttery. It goes on really smoothly. That's a nice shade. It doesn't quite go on as easily with a brush as it does with a finger, but that's kind of expected with a lot of metallics. But this one is a very nice metallic. And then Hustle here is another really pretty, just goldeny metallic. As you can see here, let me swatch that a little bit better here. My finger, I'm not left-handed, so this is throwing me off a little bit here. There you go. So very pretty. So you can see they're shiny, they're metallic, but they're not like the high shine, but they still have a beautiful shine to them. And then the last two are your high shine, super duper glitzy one. And I'll show you, they've changed them up a little bit. They're not as chunky as the last two palettes. And I appreciate that. So that is the color Blitz. It's this really pretty pink with gold flecks in it. Okay. And then this one here, which is Avenue. This is a little chunky. This is probably my least favorite shade in the palette, just because it is chunky and there's a lot of fallout. But you can see it's gold with these kind of chunky gold flakes in there. But it does like fall out quite a bit. So those are all the shades. Not the most like colorful palette in the world, but for an everyday look, this is a really nice palette. I could totally see myself traveling with these colors, and yeah, they're pretty. So let's go over how I use these formulations and what I thought as these went on. So the OTW, as you can see, is my crease color. Now I have a little bit of this Blitz color is kind of going up onto my upper eyelid, which is very typical of a, metallics do that to me. But this was a very surprising color. I loved how it turned out on the eye. It was a very nice blendable color. Swift, I put on my outer corner. Very blendable, very pigmented, a lot more pigmented than I was expecting. Now Blitz is that pink one, and that is in the center of my eye. And I'm going to show you guys a little bit here of it. Let me tap it on my eye here just to show you guys. It goes on really nicely with a silicone brush, but honestly, your finger is going to be your best bet. It is creamy feeling. Now, they did something different with this, and these middle ones, and I'll talk about this in just a second. Avenue is a really, really pretty shade, but it has a lot of fallout. And if you guys can see here, let's see if I can get my camera to focus on my finger a little bit better here to see the flecks. See if I can get it to focus. I don't know if it'll focus here, but anyway, there's a lot of like glittery flecks in it, and it falls out a lot. So I used it on my under eye area here, and it just flaked and fell out quite a bit. Charge, really beautiful inner corner color here, right there. And then Hustle, I used a little bit on the underside there. So really, really pretty. Okay, let's talk a little bit. If you guys hear, my children are making lots of noise in the background. The high metallics that they brought in this palette, they've changed up the formulation a little bit from previous. So let me show you what I mean. In the Fling palette here, you can see these high metallics. They almost look like someone like stuck something in it, but this is the way they are there. Hold on one second. Okay. Sorry, so you can see like it looks like someone pushed around the shadow. Well, when I was doing research on this shadow, let me show you guys here. It had a lot of like dimethicon, and then it had like the different metallic particles that made it super shiny high up in the formulation. And I think it was just too slippy. And that caused a lot of flaking out. And my biggest problem with this palette in general and the palette after it, the Seascape, is that the metallics just flake off your eyes really quickly. And I don't feel like that is, I mean, you can see it just like dusted off my arm here. I don't think that's the case as much with this. There's something different. When you look at these, it's got a little bit of that like look like I push it around, but just not to the same degree. Like it looks a little bit more cohesive. So I feel like they did something different with the formulation. And I'm gonna have to look that up. At some point, I'm going to do a full breakdown of the differences in the formulas of all of these palettes when I get around to it. Not for Vlogmas, but anywho. Yes. So anyway, let's see what it looks like when you rub it off. Very pigmented. So I have noticed, I've worn this for today, and it is, you know, I brushed it up a little bit before the video, but it is definitely not flaking off or falling off my eyes like the Fling palette did. I just used some concealer with just some powder base, and it's definitely saying more vibrant and on there. Now I'm having a little bit of it bleed up to the upper crease there. That is normal for me. That's just kind of what eyeshadows do on me. Interesting other thing that I thought was kind of nice, this shade Charge makes a really beautiful highlighter. That's what I used as my highlighter today. Nice glowy within look. So that is also nice, very versatile for that. So overall, really enjoyed this palette. Definitely will be reaching into this more. Definitely makes me want to keep trying their palettes after two very not so good palettes. And I'm glad I got it in the subscription box, because I don't know if I would have tried it after having had two not great palettes from them. Also, just looking at it, it doesn't look like the most exciting palette in the world, but I was really quite pleasantly surprised by this palette. So I'm glad I got a chance to try it and review it for you guys. All right, so that's it. I am, like you guys have asked, I am going to do my fails for 2019 subscription boxes. I am going through all my old videos and looking at the products that I got, and because honestly, a lot of my fails I've forgotten about because I use them and then I get rid of them because they sucked that badly. So I'm going back through those videos to see there were a couple doozies that I completely forgot about. So I'm gonna have to video that up and edit it a little bit because some of those products I don't have anymore. So that will come. I am planning to do that for Vlogmas. And then I don't know past that. I will see what I want to do next. But anywho, thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, tell me what you think. Bye guys.